When I last left you, I had just returned from Provincetown, Massachusetts. I only had one day to wrap up the Massachusetts trip and prepare the motorhome for departure. In this video, I take a 3-week trip to the Badlands of South Dakota. And be sure to stick around until the end for a summary expense report for the trip. Now, roll that intro. I departed Pittsburgh on Monday, August the 8th. One objective I had for this trip was to take the SS Badger steam-powered ferry across Lake Michigan. The ferry is a bit pricey for a 34-foot motorhome, and it really doesn't save me any mileage, but still it was something that I wanted to experience. So the first day, I drove 325 miles and stayed overnight in a Cracker Barrel parking lot near Lansing, Michigan. The second day, I drove another 158 miles to Ludington, Michigan, and stayed overnight at Poncho's Pond RV Park.
Straight cruising, headed for a bruising, watching out for number one. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Today is just today and not tomorrow. Where you're going, you can rest your head. Where you're going, brightness looks big. Where you're going.
I got up early the next day and drove the remaining 3 miles to the ferry terminal. I arrived in plenty of time and was one of the first RVs to get loaded onto the ferry.
Easy now, you gotta get going. Easy now. Hard working so you can be deserving of the rest that you are given. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Give a lot and live a little. Work with what you got. Where you're going, you can rest your head. Where you're going, brightness looks big. Where you're going, truth cannot be hid. You gotta get going. Easy now. You gotta get going. Easy now. Get along, give a hand, sleep heavy, be the man. Just there, where you are, do something, be the star. You gotta get going.
The weather was great that day, and it was a smooth crossing.
Get going. Easy now.
The ferry crossing is about 4 hours to Manawak, Wisconsin. Here we are approaching Manawak, Wisconsin. The ferry has to pivot in the Manawak Harbor and back into the dock. After disembarking the ferry in Wisconsin, I made a short drive to Village Inn RV Park and met up with some friends for lunch and a bit of sightseeing. We went to the Wisconsin Maritime Museum. I got to tour the World War II era diesel submarine USS Cobia. The next day, I continued the trip westbound. I drove 339 miles to a KOA near Hayward, Minnesota. Then I drove another 248 miles to R&R Campground in Mitchell, South Dakota. The next day was another 227 miles to Wall, South Dakota. I headed south on Route 240 to the Buffalo Gap National Grasslands. This is where you can dry camp for free on the Wall overlooking the Badlands. The roadway getting into the dry camping area is quite rough and requires a lot of care while driving in, but the camping views are well worth it. You're sharing this area with a fairly large herd of grazing cattle. After several long driving days, it was good to slow down and relax a bit in such a beautiful campsite. I spent 4 nights here, then departed for Heartland RV Park in Hermosa, South Dakota. This is a very nice RV park and served as a great central location for seeing all of the sights that the Badlands have to offer. I spent 7 nights here reconnecting with a group of friends and touring around the area. First up, Mt Rushmore. We went to Mt Rushmore late in the afternoon and then stayed until after dark for the lighting and Veterans Recognition ceremony. I highly recommend it. We toured Wind Cave National Park. We visited Devil's Tower and hiked the nearly 2-mile trail around the base of the tower. We rode the 1880 train round trip from Hill City to Keystone and back again. We visited Crazy Horse and stayed for the nighttime program here as well. We visited Jewel Cave National Monument and took the scenic tour. I didn't shoot any video in the cave, but I did manage to get some awesome photos. After a week with my friends, it was time to say goodbye. I decided to head back out to the wall and do some more dry camping and enjoy the awesome views. I ended up spending another 6 nights here before heading back to Pennsylvania. I made a beeline trip home, taking the southerly route to avoid Chicago. I drove nearly 500 miles per day for 3 days straight, stopping at a Cracker Barrel in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and another one in Urbana, Illinois. If you've made it this far, it's probably because you want to see the summary expense report for the trip. So here goes. As I've mentioned, the trip westbound was a northerly route that included the SS Badger Ferry across Lake Michigan. The return trip was a southerly route to avoid traffic around Chicago. The trip was a total of 2,928 miles, over a total of 25 days. There were 11 driving days for an average of 266 miles driven on the driving days. For fuel, I spent $1,369 for 371 gallons of fuel. The average fuel cost was $3.69 per gallon, and I had an average fuel economy of 7.9 miles per gallon. For camping, I spent $590 for 11 paid nights of camping. The average cost per paid night was $53.64. And I had 13 free nights at Cracker Barrel's and the Wall dry camping area. Other expenses included $754 for food. The fare for the SS Badger for me and the motorhome was $357, and I spent $309 for other miscellaneous expenses. The total cost for the trip was $3,379. As always, I hope you enjoyed coming along on my travel adventure. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.